Hey everyone, today I'd like to talk about one of my trading idea, which is regarding a company called IRDM. So IRDM is something called Iridium Communications. Iridium, which was a spin-off of Motorola back in I think early 2000s, the company almost went bankrupt. So it was spun off from Motorola and now it's a standalone company. So they went through all that bankruptcy process, Chapter 11. They were able to deal with the debt holders, and then they came out of bankruptcy. And then back in 2008, they actually went IPO. So let's take a look at stock. This price action here. I found that's very interesting. That Iridium recently has actually broken out. So the way I look at the stock market is that when a stock is actually sideways consolidating through time, it's actually accumulating energy. And Iridium has been accumulating energy for the last, almost a decade. So the stock went nowhere for a decade. And now it has broken out, and you can see it's consolidating here again, and it's trying to break out this kind of a three drives to the top pattern. So if this breaks out here, I suspect it might, move like that and just go ballistic. Why? The reason I'm very bullish about this stock is because this company is making a lot of headlines, right? If you look for Iridium Communication, they actually partner up with SpaceX. So a lot of the SpaceX launches is actually launching the Iridium new generation of satellites, which is called the Iridium Next constellation. So if you go to iridiumnext.com, you find out this is actually a completely global satellite system which will replace the existing Iridium network. Consists of 70 satellites, and this is a huge project, and they're the only satellite provider in the world that's able to they're able to have a completely and pole-to-pole global coverage, which means their satellite network can cover the entire globe without any dead spots, which is very impressive. And their new subsidiary called Iridium, which is also owned by Iridium. I think 25% of Iridium is owned by Iridium, and also Iridium has to pay a annual fee for carrying the Iridium payload on the Iridium satellite. So Iridium is basically, when I look at this Iridium business that Iridium actually owns, it's a global flight tracking service. And this is the only one that's available in the world that's able to track the flights around the globe from anywhere on the planet with no dead spots. And this is essentially a monopoly. All the other flight tracking service provided by, I don't know, Globalstar, Intelsat, they have dead spots, right? Their satellite does not cover the entire globe, where the Iridium actually covers the entire globe, which is very impressive. And we can see that the Mission 5 for the Iridium Next program is scheduled has been targeted by SpaceX for March 18th. So by the end of this year, if everything goes smoothly, by the end of the year, the entire network is going to be online. And the stock market is actually forward-looking, right? If once the entire network is online, I think the stocks would be a lot higher than today's level. So I would think right now, if you buy it, it's probably still at a decent level. Although it's already making all-time high, but I think this price you're paying is still kind of like a bargain. So if you look at the Iridium's fundamentals, you can see the P ratio, all the other stuff, cash flow. Their margin is like 35%. So I read their annual reports, everything. The fundamentals sound, and technically looking at the stock, it looks great. And just to give you an example, what I'm comparing this kind of a chart pattern to, I'm comparing this to some of the really explosive stocks like like Tesla and Nvidia before they just broke out. So if you look at Tesla, and Nvidia, you can see that before they break out, they are making kind of a similar pattern of breaking out to the all-time high, right? Look at Nvidia here, and look at Tesla here. You guys can just go back to the chart for Tesla. Tesla's gradually breaking the all-time high, and eventually it broke that all-time high with a kind of a 3 drives to the 3 attempts, right? 1, 2, 3. Then it completely broke out and just went vertical. So you look at the if you look at the Nvidia, it broke out all-time high, right? It has this really nice kind of pullback, then complete went vertical. And look at this. It broke the all-time high. It consolidated a bit. We just had a pullback, and I think this thing could be either gonna go kind of higher and do a much bigger pullback and then going vertical, or is this thing just gonna go completely vertical? In my opinion, the other thing I'm really convinced that this stock is gonna go vertical, go parabolic, is because the short interest, right? Tesla. When the Tesla was $39, it had a extremely high short interest back in the day. I remember before it broke out. I think the short interest here was like I think 40%, 50% of Tesla share was actually being shorted. And it takes like a few months just to cover the stock, if you know what days to cover means in terms of short interest. So if you look at the Iridium Communications short interest, I found this extremely interesting. Let's take a look here. Iridium IRDM, short interest. So that's going to take you to the NASDAQ. You can see that Iridium short interest at January 12th is actually 44 days. It takes 44 days for the shorts to cover. And just look at the Iridium stock right now. Every single person who's ever shorted in the past, ever, is losing money right now. So if you are shorting this stock, I don't think you're going to be feeling pretty happy at the moment. And it takes 44 days to cover the stock. In comparison, if you look at any other stock, just give you an average comparison of any other stock, like, Facebook or whatever, right? Facebook's days to cover is like 1 day, right? Okay, let's look at some company that's kind of similar size in the technology industry. For example, let's say Fitbit. Fitbit has a similar market cap of roughly $1 billion, and Fitbit short interest. Okay, sorry, Fitbit is actually NYSE. Let's look at something else, maybe GoPro, right? GoPro takes 2 days to cover, and is roughly the similar size of this company. This company is $1 billion company, so the market cap is actually not that big. It's pretty small, and everything looks pretty good. I think this stock might go ballistic very soon. And another thing I really like is that if you go to StockTwits, IRDM, there isn't a lot of people watching this stock. Okay, if you log in, you're gonna see currently, on the January 29th today, there are about 1,000 watchers, right? So this stock is actually not very actively being watched, and the volume of the stock is actually very low. It's only 500K in comparison to a company like Fitbit or these higher profile stocks. They have their volume is super high. It's like 5 million, right? This is like 1/10 of the volume of this stock. Okay, the stock price is actually twice of this, so it's actually 1/5 of the volume of Fitbit, and also maybe 1/5 the volume of GoPro. So this stock is actually, nobody is paying attention to it. I mean, there are only very few people paying attention to this stock. So I do recommend it. IRDM. I'm just posting this video as a reference to see, if my prediction actually comes true in the future. And best of luck trading.